Okay, good morning. Today is Wednesday, Shevat, the 10th day of Shevat. And this is the Yortzeit of the previous Rebbe, and is the Yom Tov, the day the Rebbe became Rebbe. In 1951, the Rebbe formally accepted the leadership. And Mitzvah Hashem, after this class, I'm going to go to the oil. So anyone wants to send the names, you can send in the names. We'll ask a bracha. And then today, we're going to learn in Tanya, chapter 19. It's a longer lesson. What is interesting is the one who divided the Tanya for the daily portion was the previous Rebbe. And on the day of Yud Shevat, we know, number one, he authored the Maimer, Hasidic Discourse. He wrote it to be published and studied on the day of the 10th of Shevat, which was the day that he ended up passing away. And also what is interesting that some years before he passed away, he divided the Tanya. And on the day of Yud Shevat, today, he chose to study the whole entire chapter 19 in the Tanya. So obviously this has some meaning. And when we're going to see what is the chapter 19 talking about? It talks about explaining the idea of what is the love, the hidden love that a person has. It says, Neir Hashem Nishma Sodom. The candle of Hashem is like the neshama of a person. And as you remember, we spoke yesterday about the two paths that it brings in the Tanya, the long path and the short path. The long path, how to go and to reach to perfect oneself in serving Hashem with love and fear of Hashem. This is through contemplating, understanding, logically, we call it the Bina, the understanding godliness. When you understand deeply godliness, it affects your emotions, that you develop feelings of love and fear of Hashem. However, not everyone is capable of developing these emotions with contemplation, with understanding so deeply. So in chapter 18, he's told us that there is also the short way. What is the short way? That is the fact that we know that in each and every one of us, every Jew has this hidden love to Hashem, Ahava Mesuteres. And that the fact that you have it, no matter what, it could be the worst person, the worst Jew, the greatest sinner. But deep down, he has this neshama, and he has this hidden love to Hashem. And therefore, when you realize that you have it, that itself allows you to develop feeling of love and fear of Hashem. And yesterday, 4 questions about this concept of the hidden love that there is. Yes, number 1, what's the root of this love? Because the root of the love, the first type of love, the first type of emotion, we know, the Bina, the understanding. So what is the root of this love? The hidden love of Hashem. Question number 2, he asked, what is the nature of the love? What is this love? What does this emotion want? Every emotion wants something. It loves something. What does this want? This nature of this. What is the nature of this hidden love? And number 3, he asked, how is this an inheritance? We said we inherit this from our ancestors, from our patriarchs. How does love being inherited from father to son? Parents to children. And number 4, he asked, how is the fear of God also included in this love? Because we said in order to serve Hashem properly, you have to, with love and fear. Those were the 4 questions we asked. In chapter 18, he answered 2 questions, question number 1 and number 3. Yes, what is the root of this love? he explained that this is the chachma of the nefesh. What is a chachma? The wisdom of the soul. And we explained that the wisdom, unlike the understanding, bina is something that you climb up with your own faculties. You try to understand until you understand deeper and higher and deeper and deeper until you get something and you develop a feeling of love. The wisdom is like the flash we explained yesterday. The flash that a person receives, it's not that he climbed up to receive this, something came to him. And here too is the light of Hashem comes to the person. That is the chachma shebenefesh, the wisdom of the soul. This is the root of this hidden love, that the soul is revealed into the person. And also question number 3, we answered in last chapter, and that was, how is this an inheritance? We explained that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the patriarchs, being that they were so devoted to Hashem, they became nullified to Hashem, so they received this special revelation, this special godly soul that should be for them and for the children forever. And now in this chapter, he's going to answer the other 2 questions. What is the nature of this love? What does this love desire? And also, how is the yira, the fear of Hashem, included in this love? And in order to explain this, he goes to elaborate a little bit more about the idea of this. What is the meaning of this ahava meseteres, this hidden love? So let's look inside. There we go. Says the Alter Rebbe, "L'teisves bio tzarich levayer heitev ma shekasuv neir Hashem nishmas Adam." Further elaborate, explain the nature of this hidden love. It is necessary to clarify the meaning of the verse, Neir Hashem nishmas Adam, the soul of man is a candle of God. So we see that the soul is compared to a candle. Which says the Alter Rebbe, what is the meaning? This means that the souls of Jews who are called man, the word Adam is one of the terms of humans, but this particular term Adam is referred to a Jew. So the neshama of a Jew is compared to the light, the flame of a candle, like the flame of a candle. What do we see the nature of the flame? Whose nature is always to flicker upwards. Always the nature of the flame wants to go up, constantly goes up. And why is that? מפני שאור האש חופץ בטבע ליפורד מהפסילו ולדבק בשרו שלמיילו ביסוד האש הכללי שתחס גלגל הירח כמו שכתוב בעץ חיים. He says because the flame of the fire intrinsically always seeks to part from the wick that holds it and to unite with its source above in the universal element of fire, which is the sublunar sphere, as explained in Eitz Chaim. So it explains over there that you have everything which is lighter. You have the inanimate objects. You have the eish, ruach, mayim, afa. The earth is the heaviest thing. It goes down. The mayim, the water, so it goes on top of the earth. It's lighter. You have the ruach, the air is even lighter, goes higher, and the eish, the fire, is lighter than all. It's the least physical, and therefore goes up. And the source of the eish, the root of the eish, of the fire, is in the highest level place. And when the wick, the fire, the flame constantly goes up, it is because the desire of the fire is to go up to its source. Now, what happens when a fire goes up to its source? the fire will no longer be fire. It will be included in its source and will be part of its source itself. Says the Alter Rebbe, that although that thereby, by parting from the wick and becoming part of its source, it would be extinguished and will emit no light at all. Here below, even above, also above in its source, its identity would be lost within that of its source. So it will be part of its source, will no longer be part of the identity of an existing flame. So it says, Afal Pikein, nevertheless, Bekach hu chofetz b'tivai. Yet this is what it's desired by nature. The nature of the fire, that it wants to go up and connect to its source. Explains the Alter Rebbe that this is also the nature of the soul of a human being. The soul of a Jew wants to be connected, regardless of the fact that when it's connected to the source, it ceases to exist as an independent being in the body. Says the Alter Rebbe, Kach nishmas ha'adam. This is also the soul of a man. So also the neshama of a Jew, also the levels of ruach and nefesh, which are the lower parts of the neshama. Chefza v'cheshka betiva liporeid velotzis min haguf velidavik b'shorosha mekeira b'Hashem chayim baruch hu. The soul naturally desires and yearns to separate itself and depart from the body and to unite with its origin and source in God, blessed be He, who is the fountainhead of all lives. Agam shetia ayin ve'efes ve'tisbatel shom mitzius legamre. So although by doing so, by departing from the body, it will become nullified completely. And its identity will be there. It will be completely nullified with nothing at all remaining of its original essence and self. Meaning the way the neshama was here, that will cease to exist. It will be nullified in its source, the source of the neshama, which is Hashem. So regardless of the fact which goes against the nature of anything in this world, the deepest desire that a person has is desire to exist. He wants to live. Here the soul has an opposite desire. Desire is to separate itself and to be included in its source. This is its will and desire by its nature. And using the term nature, says the Alter Rebbe, we use the term nature not because it's a natural thing. With the term nature is only a borrowed term, something which is inexplicable, something which we don't understand. We call it nature. So it says, "V'teva zeu shem amushur lechol davar she'enoi b'bchinas tam v'das." Nature is an applied term for anything that is not in the realm of reason and comprehension. The Gamkan, and also here, Kavana, Sheretzoin v'chefet zeh sheben b'nefesh, eine b'bchinas tam v'das v'seichel musa gemuven, elo lemayla medas v'seichel musa gemuven. So here too, with regard to the soul's desire to unite with its source, it says the term nature that we use over here is that the soul's will and desire is not based on reason, knowledge, and intelligence that can be understood, but rather it is beyond the grasp and comprehension of rational intelligence. It's way beyond. Because this nature is the soul's faculty of chachma, as we explained earlier, where in the light of the blessed Ein Sof abides. Hashem's light is in the chachma, because it's nullified to Hashem. And that, says the Alter Rebbe, is a rule in anything of holiness, anything of holy. What is holy? Holy is nullified to above. Anything which is selfish, which is the opposite of holiness, wants to be, focuses on its own existence. Says the Alter Rebbe, "V'zeu klal b'chol sitra de kedusha she'einoi elo ma shenimshach mechachma shenikra kodesh ha'elyon." Now, this is a general principle in the whole realm of holiness. Holiness, kedusha, is only that which derives from chachma, which is called the kodesh ha'elyon, the supernal holiness. Abatel b'metzius ba'oren soy baruch hu ha'melubash boi ve'eino davar b'fnei atzmo kanal. Its very existence is nullified in the light of the blessed Ein Sof, which is clothed in it and is not a thing apart, as explained earlier. That's why the word chachma comes from these two words, koach ma, which means the power of ma. Ma means what? Like Moshe Rabbeinu and says, "V'anachnu ma," what are we? Is completely nullified to above. So this is the power of complete nullification to above. That is the chachma. Says the Alter Rebbe, this is the total opposite of the nature of the souls of the nations of the world. There, everything they do, even when they have noble causes, noble desires, but it's all also about themselves. So what will they gain? Even if it's a holy thing, it's a spiritual thing, but it's about what they want. Says the Alter Rebbe, this stands in direct contrast to the klipa, the shell, the opposite of kedusha, and the sitra acha, the other side, from which are derived the souls of the Gentiles. The avdin legarmai, that they act only for themselves. The Amrim, have, v'haliteni, saying give. And as Esav says, feed me. That's what Esav, the brother of Yaakov, told Yaakov, haliteni namina adam azeh, give me, feed me from this lentil soup that Yaakov prepared. It's about giving. Why? Liyois yeish v'dava b'fnei atzmai. In order to be an independent being and entities. This is in direct contrast of the Chachma, whose nature is humility and self-nullification. Therefore, those of the realm of Klippa, they are described as dead. Because wisdom gives life. Hashem is life. Then the wisdom gives life. And it is written, they die without wisdom, meaning that death is direct result of lack of wisdom. Therefore, the nations that receive their life force from the Klippa are considered dead, because that's not real life. So too are the wicked and the sinners of Israel. They also are considered dead when? Only before they are put to the test of sanctifying God's name. Because when they put to the test of sanctifying God's name, that essence of the soul is being revealed. In other words, once a person realizes that doing something will disconnect them from God, this is when the spark of the neshama comes out and does not let the person to do it, even if it goes beyond logic. Because for the faculty of the Chachma in the divine soul, with the spark of godliness from the light of the blessed Ein Sof that is clothed in it, Ein b'pchinas golus begufam benefesh abahamis. This is in the state of exile in their body, within the animal soul, meaning that godly spark that we said, that love, the hidden love, which is in each and every Jew. So in the people that are the level or the lower level of Rashai, people who are sinners, it's there, but it's in a state of exile. This is within the animal soul of the realm of Kalipa, in the left part of the heart, which reigns over them and dominates the body. So this exile, with the faculty of Chachma, while the animal soul dominates the body, this echoes the esoteric doctrine of exile of the Shekhinah. That God's presence is in exile. He says, this is why this love that is in the godly soul that wants to connect to Hashem is called the Ahava Mesuteres, the hidden love, because it is hidden. Because it is hidden and veiled in the case of the transgressors of Israel in a sackcloth of klipa. And from this klipa, from this sackcloth, enters into them a spirit of folly which leads them to sin. As our sages say, a person does not sin unless a spirit of folly enters into him. What is the spirit of folly? This is when they're told that it's okay. You do a sin, that's not going to disconnect you from Hashem. That is a spirit of folly. That it doesn't realize that every time you do something against the will of Hashem affects your neshama, affects your connection with Hashem. But he says, this exile of the faculty of Chachma affects only the aspect of it which is diffused throughout the nefesh and animates it with the divine vitality. In other words, the Alter Rebbe is saying that the source, the root of the Chachma is not affected by this exile. There's something which cannot, the deeper part of the neshama cannot be touched, cannot be harmed in any way. Yeah, the root and core of the Chachma in the divine soul is in the brain. And it doesn't clothe itself in the sackcloth of kalipa in the left part of the heart in a true state of exile, meaning so that it be powerless to prevent one from sinning. So that the root of it is not affected. However, it is dormant. It cannot be revealed. It's not openly active. It is merely dormant in the case of the wicked, not exercising its influence within them. As long as their knowledge and understanding are preoccupied with mundane pleasures. So when a person is preoccupied with the mundane pleasures, does not allow his real connection with Hashem to be revealed, to come out. However, when the wicked people are confronted with a test of faith, which transcends knowledge, v'nogo ad nefesh, touching the very soul and the faculty of the Chachma, the B'chinas Chachma sheba, azayin ne'ir mishnoso pa'eles pu'ulaso, be'koyach Hashem ha'melubashba. Then it arises from its sleep, meaning the Chachma reveals itself, and it exerts its influence within the divine force that is closed in it. As it is written, the Lord awakens as one out of sleep. Okay, so this is a verse in Tehillim in Psalms that Hashem wakes up from a sleep. So reading it, understanding in the simple sense, it doesn't make sense. Hashem sleeps. Does God sleep? But learning this chapter, we understand what it means. It is the godliness within you that is asleep. And we need to wake it up. What wakes up this part of this essence of the soul? This is when a test comes, when a person feels that he's in danger, his life, his spiritual life is in danger, then the God within him is awakened. The revelation of the Chachma leads even the sinner to withstand the test of faith in God without any reasoning or knowledge that he can comprehend. And this leads him to prevail over the klippos and over his desires toward worldly matters, both permitted and forbidden, which he was accustomed to indulge and even to despise them, He can lead the person, even the sinner, to despise those things when he realizes how this affects his connection to Hashem. And to choose God as his portion and his lot. So that he's prepared to offer his soul to God for the sanctification of his name. And this, we're talking not about a person who is raised religious, even a person who completely his entire life lived completely without any observance of Torah mitzvahs. He says, although the klippos, the other side, the shell, prevailed over him, over this sinner, who is not prepared to accept martyrdom. But his entire life, all his life, it was dominated by the klippos, and he couldn't prevail over them. As we explained what our sages say, that the wicked people are under the control of their heart. They don't control their emotions. The emotions controls them. That's what the wicked people are. When you used to do that, it's like an addict. You're not in control of yourself anymore. So even a person like this, that his entire life he lived under the control of the evil, under the control of the heart, of the desires. Nevertheless, when it comes to a point of, the push comes to shove, when the point of test is tested to be connected or disconnected, God forbid, from Hashem, that's when the neshama comes out. Nevertheless, when he faces a test challenging his faith in the one God, whose foundation is in the level of the divine soul called the heights of holiness, namely the faculty of Chachma. He b'chinas Chachma shebenefesh elikis sheba melubesh oir ein sof baruch, which in the level of Chachma, which in it is enclosed in it the light of the Ein Sof blessed being. Then all of the klippos become nullified and they vanish as though they had never been in the presence of the Lord, because they are really not true existence. They're there only to challenge us. Kedichsiv, as it says, it is written in Isaiah, that all the nations, including also the klippos, are as nothing before him. Uksiv, in another verse it says, and it says, for all your enemies, O Lord, referring also to the klippos, which are the enemies of God, all your enemies will perish, they will be scattered. Uksiv, and there's another verse that says, and the hills, referring to the klippos again, they melted like wax. Now, says the Alter Rebbe, he's going. So until now, he explained these questions. What we said, what were the questions of What is the source of it? We asked what is the root of it? What is the meaning? What is the nature of this love? Why is it inheritance, and why is the fear of God also included in this love? So now he answered the second question, which is, what is the nature of it? What is the nature of this love of Hashem? The nature is that the soul wants to be included in its source. That is the nature of the love. And this goes against all logic. Logically, everyone wants to exist. So just like he gave the example of the fire that wants to depart from the wick and be included in its source, even though it will cease to exist, same thing as the soul of a Jew wants to be included in Hashem. And that is the nature of this love. And now finally that Rebbe is going to answer the fourth question: how is the fear of God also included in this love? And he's going to explain that when you love someone so much, then you don't want to be disconnected in any way. Everything that causes disconnection, you're fearful of that. So the fear of Hashem, meaning the fear of being disconnected from Hashem. That is how, if the love, the Ava, and the Ira included in this. Says the Alter Rebbe, the force of the divine light of the Ein Sof that is clothing the soul's faculty of Chachma is so intense. That the power of this love is so intense, the power of this light is so intense as to banish and repel the Sitra Achra and the Klippus, so that they are unable to touch even the garments, namely the thoughts, speech, and action that express one's faith in the unity of Hashem. Which means that even when it comes an opportunity, a person to do only a small thing, to bow down, and it brings the example to bow down to an idol, he's not going to do it, even if he doesn't mean it. This means that the divine light vested in the Chachma enables him to withstand the test of self-sacrifice to the extent of even refusing to do a mere empty act that is contrary to his belief in one God. Kagoin, for example, for example, to bow down before the idol, even without acknowledging it in his heart at all. You know the famous story of Chana and Shiva's Banel, Chana and the 7 sons, that they were in the time of the destruction of the temple, when they were Chana and the emperor was testing each and every one of them, forcing them to bow down to the idol, and they refused and killed them all, and came to the youngest child. He also refused to bow down to the idol, so he threw down his ring on the floor and says, you know what, don't bow down to the idol, just bend down to pick up my ring, so everyone else will think that you're bowing down to the idol. And the child refused. He also was killed. Then Chana, the mother, also killed herself, and she said to Hashem that sacrifices that she gave to Hashem. This is one of the famous stories. And what do we see here? That even when something in the neshama of a Jew does not allow the person to separate from Hashem, even if it doesn't mean it, even if it's just an act. So that is the power, the intense power of the neshama, that when it comes to a point that it feels that it's doing something is going to separate him from Hashem, is not going to do it. It's not going to allow him to do it, even if it's not logical at all. So too, he will sacrifice his life as not to speak falsely, God forbid, concerning the unity of God, even when his words do not reflect his true feelings. For his heart is perfect in the one belief in Hashem. הnichlal b'rechimu. Now, this is called the fear contained in love. Sheyava tivis shebenefesh elikis shebeklal Yisrael, meaning the natural love found in the divine soul of all Jews. Whose intrinsic desire and will is to be attached to its origin and source, the light of the blessed Ein Sof, the light of Hashem. שמפני אהבה זו ורוצן זה, יראו מפחדת בטיבה בנגוע בקצי תומס עבד זו חס ושלום, שהיא נגד אמונת השם. But by virtue of this love and this desire, it intrinsically recoils in fear and dread from touching, God forbid, even the fringe of the impurity of idolatry. Not doing idols, the fringe of impurity, which denies the faith in God's unity. Even when such context involves only the outer garments, namely idolatrous speech or action, without any faith whatsoever in the heart, nevertheless is not going to do it. So this is what the Alter Rebbe answers the other two parts. So that is why the nature of the love is to connect to Hashem. That is why a person, no matter what, wants to be connected. And this is also why it is included in it is the level of the fear of Hashem as well. We mentioned last night, mentioned the Fabrengen, mentioned a story. We're going to say it briefly. When the Rebbe came out the Rebbe spoke about being reaching out to prisoners, Jewish prisoners in the prisons. So there was a Lubavitcher here in Crown Heights. His name was Rabbi Tevel, and he used to go to prisons. But there was one prison that the chaplain, who was a Reformed Jew, refused to cooperate. He didn't want to do anything with Lubavitch, but receiving matzahs, anything. Long story short, the Rabbi Tevel called him again and again and again until finally he agreed to ship him the matzahs, and he came. Instead of shipping with a UPS, he brought him the matzahs himself. And then when he comes there, he offers this Reformed rabbi who doesn't put on tefillin. He offered him to put on tefillin, and he didn't want to put on tefillin, but he gently walks over him to the tefillin, and he rolls up the sleeve like a typical Lubavitcher, and he wraps on the tefillin on him. And he's like, he cooperated somehow. And when it came to say the bracha, the rabbi was saying the bracha, you knew the bracha, Baruch Atah, for the tefillin he puts on, and he says Shema. And then all of a sudden, this Reformed rabbi started crying like a baby. And he's crying and crying, he couldn't calm him down. Until finally he calmed down and took off the tefillin. And Rabbi Tevel, the Lubavitcher, asked him, what just happened? So he tells him, I can explain everything what happened until now, but after the tefillin, I cannot explain what happened. And he says that he was a child during the Holocaust. He saw his family getting killed. And he was so angry with God that he decided to go against God, against Judaism. And that is why he became a Reformed rabbi, because he wanted to make sure to have intermarriage, to marry a Jew with non-Jews. And he made sure to do it on Tisha B'Av to make the weddings. He did everything to the spine. And he said he did this for so many years. And he says, I don't know what happened. When you put on the tefillin on me, I said the Shema, I started feeling so terrible. And I asked God, please forgive me for this. This is the neshama of a Jew. It can be dormant for so many years. Obviously, we cannot judge people who went through such difficult times and challenges. But we see that no matter what, a Yid is a Yid, a Jew is a Jew. And the neshama of the Yid will come out. So this is the end of this chapter 19, the long chapter. And on this very special day of Yud Shevat, it is a good time to commit to reveal this part of the neshama, as the Frierdiker Rebbe says, and the Rebbe told us that this is the mission of our generation, to reveal the neshama of every Yid, and to spread this light, and to prepare for Mashiach. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow morning, B'ezrat Hashem.